3 sleepless nights. That's what it took to piece this together, because the official story here, the one running on every ticker, doesn't hold up. 8 nights of airstrikes. American soldiers dead in Jordan, Iran's currency in freefall. And the headlines keep repeating the same clean little sentence. Iran attacked ships, so America hit back. Enforce the strait, punish the killers, move on. Except that story doesn't survive 5 minutes with the targeting maps. What's actually happening in Iran right now isn't retaliation. It's demolition, engineered, sequenced, and aimed at 3 things at once. Iran's coastline, Iran's economy, and one mountain most people have never heard of. Let's take it apart. Piece by piece. Rewind to February 28th. Operation Epic Fury on the American side. Operation Roaring Lion on the Israeli side. Same night, same target list. And within 24 hours, Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, is dead, along with dozens of his top officials. That's not a skirmish. That's a decapitation strike. 40 days of war followed. Then a ceasefire. Fragile, everyone knew it. And on June 17th, the Islamabad Memorandum. Iran reopens Hormuz. Both sides get 60 days to talk. Here's the part nobody explained properly. The deal died the moment it was signed because both sides read it differently. Iran wanted Hormuz as a toll booth, approved routes only, fees collected, Tehran holding the keys to the world's oil choke point. Washington wanted the opposite. Open water. No gatekeeper. July 6th and 7th, Iranian forces open fire on 3 commercial ships in the strait. Trump doesn't wait for a briefing memo. Same day, the truce is over. Then something interesting happens. Washington floats a 20% security toll on cargo moving through Hormuz. 10 days later, on July 15th, they drop it. Quietly, no explanation. Because they didn't need it anymore. They'd already decided on something bigger. A total, unconditional naval blockade. And watch what the targets shift to. February was air defenses, command centers, military chess pieces. July is bridges, tunnels, power stations, ports. The Bandar Kamir highway and railway bridges. Gone. That's the only overland route connecting Bandar Abbas, Iran's biggest port, and an IRGC naval hub to the rest of the country. The Mirzaya Tunnel. Hit. Telecom blackout across northern Bandar Abbas. Chabahar Port surveillance tower, the one CENTCOM says was tracking commercial shipping for Tehran, collapsed overnight. Power stations and desalination pumps in Jask and Keshem, offline. 10,000 people without clean water. In July heat. This isn't self-defense. Self-defense doesn't need a bridge in Bandar Kamir. What this is amputation. Cut the coast off from the country. No reinforcements. No armor moving south. No mobile missile launchers reaching the water. Just an isolated coastline and a navy with nowhere to run. That's layer 1. It gets worse. Here's the thing everyone's missing while they stare at Hormuz. February's strikes hit Iran's known nuclear sites. Fordo, Natanz, Isfahan, all badly damaged. One site walked away untouched. Pickaxe Mountain. Officially, Kolang Gazla. Construction started in 2020, right after Iran's above-ground centrifuge facility got flattened. This time, they didn't rebuild on the surface. They went down. Tunnels bored at least 100 meters into solid granite. Iran calls it a centrifuge assembly site, nothing more. Western intelligence isn't buying it. They think it's built to run deep, protected enrichment, safe from exactly the war Iran is now fighting. In July, Trump put it back on the table publicly, said the U.S. could deliver a nice, big, fat shot right in the front door. Everyone understood the reference. The GBU-57, the massive ordnance penetrator. 30,000 pounds of precision-guided bunker buster, the heaviest non-nuclear bomb in the American arsenal. Here's where I need to slow down, because this is the part getting flattened into a soundbite. Defense analysts, actual ones, not cable news panels, are skeptical the GBU-57 can do what Trump is implying. 100 meters of solid granite is not 100 meters of packed earth. Even this bomb, the best penetrator the U.S. has ever built, was designed against reinforced concrete and layered rock, not a mountain. There's a real question of whether it physically reaches the chambers it's supposedly meant to destroy. Which tells you something. This threat isn't primarily a weapons capability. It's psychological ordnance. Trump doesn't need the bomb to work. He needs Tehran to believe it might. Every bridge, every blackout in Keshem, every burned-out fishing pier. It's not really about that target. It's a demonstration, a running proof of concept that says we can reach anything we want to reach. Pickaxe Mountain stays on the list, not because Washington is certain it can crack it open, but because the uncertainty itself is the leverage. Keep Tehran guessing. Keep the mountain hanging over the table. Friday, July 17th. Everything changes. A drone and missile strike hits a U.S. installation in Jordan. 2 American service members dead, 1 missing, several wounded. First confirmed U.S. combat deaths since this war reignited. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth doesn't mince words. The deaths would only stiffen our resolve. 2 days later, July 19th, CENTCOM answers with what they're calling swift punishment strikes. IRGC coastal defenses, missile storage, maritime assets near Sirik, Keshem, Shadigan, 8th consecutive night of strikes. But here's what Iran does instead of engaging the U.S. Navy head-on, which it can't win. It goes after the soft underbelly, America's allies. Iranian strikes hit a desalination plant and an oil facility in Kuwait. Sit with that for a second. Kuwait pulls 90% of its drinking water from desalination. This is a country built on a coastline in one of the driest regions on Earth, with almost no natural freshwater reserve to fall back on. You don't need to sink a fleet to break a country like that. You hit the machines that turn seawater into something a human being can drink, and you start a clock. Days, not weeks, before that becomes a humanitarian crisis, not a military one. That's the target Iran chose. Not a base, not a ship, a tap. The IRGC also went after a U.S. military camp and an air base in Kuwait, trying to blind the Patriot radar systems, choke the logistics chain. Air defenses lit up across Jordan, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Iraq. Interceptors even shot drones out of the sky over Erbil. And Iran raised the stakes one more time, telling its Houthi allies in Yemen to get ready to shut down the entire Red Sea shipping corridor if the U.S. goes after Iran's power grid. Notice the pattern. Iran can't fight the U.S. Navy ship to ship, so it's turning every American ally in the region into a hostage. The numbers, if you want them: over 6,000 Iranian military dead, more than 15,000 wounded, 16 U.S. service members and a contractor killed, over 430 wounded. Iran's own government says 3,503 civilians dead. This is already one of the bloodiest conflicts of the decade, and the trajectory is still climbing. So why does Washington keep pressing instead of pulling back? Because Iran's economy is bleeding out in real time, and everyone in the Pentagon knows it. The IMF's new number, a 6.1% contraction of Iran's economy this year. That's not a downgrade. That's a reversal. They were projecting growth before this war started. The blockade choked off crude exports from Karg Island, Iran's economic lifeline, and the rial cratered. Nearly 1.92 million to the dollar. Actual hyperinflation. Basic groceries becoming a luxury for ordinary Iranians who had nothing to do with any of this. It's not just the money and the missiles either. Mid-July, the UK passed new laws making it a crime to support the IRGC in any form. Financing, networks, proxies, all of it, cut off with legal force. Iran is being strangled on 3 fronts at once: military, financial, legal. And Trump's not operating with a blank check back home either. Senate Democrats, Chuck Schumer leading them, are sitting on the National Defense Authorization Act, won't move it without a real exit strategy attached. Vance keeps telling cameras there's no plan for U.S. boots on Iranian soil. Trump, on Fox News, wouldn't rule it out. said, quote, "Sometimes you need a ground campaign," then added that other people would probably be the ones running it. Israel. Regional partners. Not us, but somebody. That contradiction right there. That's not a messaging slip. That's two different audiences getting two different promises. So next time the anchor says, enforcing freedom of navigation, hold that thought against everything you just heard. This isn't about a shipping lane. It's a coastline getting severed from its own capital, a currency in freefall during a summer heat wave, a mountain nobody's sure the biggest bomb in America's arsenal can even crack, kept on the target list anyway, because the fear does more work than the bomb ever could. Iran's being handed exactly two options, and Washington built both of them on purpose: collapse or negotiate on terms it never gets to write. That's the real reason the strikes didn't stop, not payback. Pressure, applied everywhere at once, until something gives. If you want the layer underneath the headline instead of the headline itself, that's this channel, twice a week. No noise,